And now to our second conversation. Nigeria's naira scarcity continues to be front-page news. The effect it is also having on the economy cannot be denied. The Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise says Africa's largest economy has suffered losses estimated at 20 trillion naira from the deceleration of economic activities, crippling of trading activities, stifling of the informal economy, contraction in the agricultural sector, and paralysis of the rural economy, as well as the fact that there are corresponding job losses running into the thousands. Yet the CBN's demonetization policy, also known as the Naira redesign policy, is still in place. What makes it worse for many is the silence that comes from President Muhammadu Buhari and the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele. More than a week after the Supreme Court ruled that the old 500 and 1,000 Naira notes should continue to circulate as legal tender till December of this year, neither the President nor the CBN Governor has said anything on the next steps. But Nigerians have been hearing from several governors, and there are reports that some state governments are planning to initiate contempt proceedings against the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, and the CBN Governor over their refusal to implement the Supreme Court judgment on the Naira redesign policy. So let's get into all of this with Barrister Monday Ubani. Barrister Ubani, welcome to Politics HQ again. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good evening.
So the news of a possible contempt proceedings comes after the federal government was served with the enrolled order and the certified true copy of last week's Supreme Court judgments, which of course said that the 500 and 1,000 Naira notes, as well as 200 Naira old notes, should be in circulation. When the Supreme Court issued that judgment, what was the next thing that you would have expected from the government and the CBN?
Well, one would have expected, the way we do it in this country, is probably expect a pronouncement from the presidency, maybe through the Attorney General, saying, of course, we have to abide by the decision of the Supreme Court, which is the Supreme Court of the land. And immediately, the judgment becomes implementable. Now, the point is that a Supreme Court judgment binds everyone, including the president, every citizen, every institution in the land. Is the highest court in the land, and there is a constitutional provision that says that the Supreme Court judgment binds everyone in the country. Ordinarily, there shouldn't be any pronouncement for obedience to or compliance with that court order. But the way things work here is that we look towards the presidency from the Attorney General to give his own interpretation of what the judgment of the court implies before obedience is exacted. So everyone was expecting the presidency or the central bank governor to make a pronouncement. But unfortunately, up to this point in time, as I speak to you, there is more. Nobody is saying anything. And it's taking untold hardship on the people. That is harrowing experience. People do not have access to the new money. They don't even have access to the old money. And so it's becoming very unbearable. You cannot conduct any transaction in Nigeria as I speak to you. If you walk along the road, you see all those small-scale businesses, they don't even open because there is no money. The POS, you can't get any cash. The ATM cannot dispense money. So it's becoming very unbearable. As rightly pointed out, we have lost trillions in Naira as a result of this policy that is not well thought out. The implementation is absolutely poor, and it has brought so much untold hardship on Nigerians. And one is not happy that the president has remained very quiet, and neither the central bank governor saying anything concerning the harrowing experience Nigerians are undergoing as a result of the poor thought out policy.
Okay, so in terms of that, so no statement from the president, no live broadcast, whatever it may be, no statement from the CBN as well. What then would have been the legal options? Because given the fact that, as you said, the Supreme Court is the highest court, there shouldn't be an opportunity not to do what the Supreme Court has ordered to be done. But what legal options do the states get left with?
I think that there are some institutions that have actually issued a statement. The Nigerian Bar Association, through the president, issued a statement earlier today advising the president to comply with the judgment of the Supreme Court. Many others, including Sarah, everyone, every institution, everyone has spoken that the president should make a pronouncement in order to ensure compliance with the Supreme Court judgment. I think the last resort or the last option that is open to those who have gone to court is to commence immediately contempt proceedings against the Attorney General of the Federation, who happens to be a party. I don't know the level of how that particular judgment will apply to Emefiele, who happens to be a party that was not joined in that suit. But the one I'm sure is that the Attorney General can be actually proceeded against in terms of contempt proceedings. And so they have threatened that by next week they're going to do that. But some other governors have given the presidency an ultimatum in order to ensure compliance. So let's believe that this weekend or this week that the president should be able to make a pronouncement. But what I read today, I don't know how true that is that the central bank has asked the commercial banks to dispense old note and also collect old note. That's what I hear. I don't know how
we're going to get to that because there's a lot of confusion on that. But before we move forward, for the viewer who's watching us, what would be achieved with a contempt proceedings against the AGF? Of course, you've answered what was part of that second question in terms of what would we do with the CBN governor who wasn't a party to the initial suit. So what would we actually achieve if the governors or the states were to go ahead with contempt proceedings against the AGF and he was found to be in contempt?
Yes, what I've discovered with government officials is that when you initiate contempt proceedings against them, if you remember what happened with EFCC chairman and even with the IG recently, they usually comply with the judgment of the court and then swear an affidavit saying they have complied. Maybe that is a way of making them to comply. Ordinarily, there shouldn't be any contempt proceeding against a pronouncement of the court that is explicit and binding on everyone. But in Nigeria here, it's like we're not operating democracy. What we're operating presently is autocracy or dictatorship, where you have to look towards the direction of any government official for pronouncement, for a judgment of the court that is very explicit. So hopefully, it is believed that when these contempt proceedings are initiated, that the government officials usually come up with an affidavit and say, oh, we have complied, an affidavit of compliance. Maybe that can push the Attorney General to advise the central bank governor to reduce the hardship that is presently plaguing everyone. Everyone is undergoing this harrowing experience, yes, including the Supreme Court justices, including the security agents in the country, including everyone. I don't know how the presidency, how they generate their own money, but I tell you, virtually everyone is really suffering this lingering monetary crisis in the country. And economically, Nigeria is bleeding. If you see how many billions of naira that is lost daily as a result of non-transactions, small-scale industrialists, those who eke out a living through daily sales, are all suffering. Everyone. I don't have cash in my pocket. I don't have cash. It's difficult for me to go out now. What if in the process of going out, I throw away somebody's egg or bread, and I'm asked to pay, and I don't have any cash? So it's becoming more difficult in the country to live in the country. And I don't know when this will end. And that is the truth.
And it's a large question. So bear with me because I want to lay this out before you because we've seen a lot of the confusion and you alluded to hearing that the CBN had directed commercial banks to accept the old note. So this morning, Charles Soludo, governor of Anambra and a former CBN governor himself on his verified Twitter page posted that he had spoken personally to Godwin Emefiele and that Emefiele had confirmed to him in a telephone conversation that the CBN had in fact directed commercial banks to dispense old currency notes and to receive same as deposit from customers. Now, in the tweet thread, he mentioned that the CBN governor had given the directives at a bankers committee meeting held on Sunday, the 12th of March. But now, this afternoon, we've heard from the acting director of corporate communications for the CBN, Issa Abdulmumun, who debunked Soludo's claim and said that no such statement to the commercial banks came out and that the statements emanated from Soludo and not from the CBN. Then just about 2 hours ago, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, also on his verified Instagram account, reiterated what Governor Soludo had said, that he had also spoken to senior CBN officials and that there was that directive in place as well. I'd also like us to hear from Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State. Let's just hear what he had to say.
I am hereby sounding a note of warning to every merchant, trader, petrol station, banker that is refusing old naira notes. If you are reported to me, I will deal with you to the fullest extent of the law. This is serious business. The Supreme Court of Nigeria is the highest court in the land. Supreme Court has ruled that the old naira notes remain legal tender. Hello. Supreme Court has ruled that the deadline has been moved.
So you hear the gist of what Governor Dapo Abiodun is saying. There's posturing, let's be honest, but there's also counter statements. And the latest thing on the CBN's Twitter handle is actually refuting a claim made by a national daily, but no statement on this issue. Barrister Ubani, what do you make of all of this confusion, and particularly how it sends a message to many Nigerians and even to those outside, whether it's investors who want to put foreign direct investments here, or even other government agencies, World Bank, the IMF, who are looking at the situation developing in this economy?
I don't know how the president of the country feels presently. That there is total confusion in the land, and there is no direct statement from the person that's supposed to speak to Nigerians with regards to the current situation. Soludo cannot be the central bank governor. He was once in that position. He's now a governor of the state, and so he cannot speak on behalf of the central bank. Ordinarily, if there is such a decision taken by the central bank, one would have expected them to issue a formal statement, which will be given to all the newspapers, or all to the radio stations, and all to the channels, television houses, that this is what the position of the central bank is. And so quoting governors and quoting non-central bank officials speaking on behalf of the central bank, portends grave danger and total confusion, pervades the land. And as I said earlier, I don't know the kind of legacy that the President Buhari himself presently wants to bequeath to us as a nation. Is he want to leave us in a more confused state, just 2 or 3 months to the exit of his administration? What manner of suffering is he inflicting on Nigerians? And is he smiling? Does he sleep well, in the light of what is going on presently, where there is total confusion in the land, and we don't have any official who's supposed to be the one to speak on his behalf, telling us what the situation is? And Nigerians are totally looking forward to a central bank statement, just to say, oh, yes, that is the correct situation. We are complying with the Supreme Court judgment. Let the old notes be dispensed. Let people accept it. We will also accept it when they bring it back to the bank. But nobody is saying anything with regards to that. So I don't know how they feel. Whether they feel on top of the world that the total confusion in the land give them some level of excitement. They feel ecstatic. They feel so happy that Nigerians are really undergoing a very series of confusion that you cannot explain. I don't know. Honestly, I am confused myself. But I feel that this is not the way for proper governance, because investors are looking at our country. Somebody wants to come and invest, and there is no clearer picture of how the economy is operational, and you cannot say who is actually speaking for who. So there is total confusion in the land, and you can imagine the kind of billions and billions of dollars will be missing by way of those who want to invest and take a quick decision to come and invest in Nigeria. So to me, as a Nigerian, I'm not proud at this juncture. I am not proud answering Nigerian, because there is no one I can say that is clearly in charge of Nigeria at this point, in order to reduce the level of hardship that Nigerians are experiencing. I'm not happy. I am not happy, and I don't think you are happy. And I don't think Nigerians are happy or smiling with the present situation of things.
Okay, so I want to take you on some of the criticisms of the Supreme Court judgment. So some have said that the court failed to take a holistic look at the law relating to banking, of which its judgment has now become a part in taking such a far-reaching decision that is capable of truncating the CBN's monetary policy, which is already being implemented in this current year. So there is a belief that banking practice by convention overrides banking law. And it said that against that judgment, with the CBN, the Supreme Court extending the validity of the notes, that it is simply not enforceable. There are those who also believe that there could have been an overreach on the part of the Supreme Court, that there's no country in the world where the Supreme Court orders what is legal tender currency, no matter how it is packaged and even brought to it for adjudication. That, in fact, with the Nigerian Constitution, currency-related matters are the executive function of the CBN as an agent of the federal government with constitutional powers to issue and manage legal tender exclusively. So do you think, regardless of how we're all feeling about this situation right now, looking at the Supreme Court's judgment in the light of the facts we have before us, could there have been an overreach? Was the Supreme Court making a judgment that was holistic in nature? What do you think?
You know what I said when this matter came up? About the Supreme Court interference or being asked to intervene in such a matter. My view at that time is that, the states have gone to Supreme Court, which is the final court. And the Supreme Court is being asked to exercise what we call original jurisdiction. Ordinarily, what the Supreme Court does is to exercise what we call appellate jurisdiction. Every matter has to come from the ground up to the Supreme Court. But it is very rare that the Supreme Court will be asked to invoke its original jurisdiction. And it must be on a very serious matter in which there is a controversy between the state and the federal government. And so my statement, when I issued a statement regarding that invocation, was that the Supreme Court will first of all decide whether it has jurisdiction. And that means that the Attorney General, if he's opposing the invocation of the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, will have to file what's called preliminary objection, saying that, oh, Supreme Court, they have no jurisdiction over this matter. And then let the other party, the states that went to Supreme Court, file their counter to that, and let there be how the court will resolve the matter. But unfortunately, the announcement of the president when the Supreme Court granted an interim order put the government of the land, into contempt. And that's why their application for preliminary objection was not considered. And the Supreme Court now went ahead to now grant all the reliefs of the state, because the Supreme Court felt that they couldn't give any hearing to the federal government because they were in contempt. When there was an interim order granted, the federal government came up and made an announcement that seems to have overruled the Supreme Court. So that was why the issue of whether the Supreme Court has jurisdiction was not holistically considered. But let me tell you what the Supreme Court says about them. They say we're not infallible because, we're final, not because we're infallible. We are final because we are human beings and we can make mistakes, but we are final authority on any matter. So whatever issues now anyone is saying about the Supreme Court assuming jurisdiction over this matter, it is going to be academic, because there is no other place you are going to approach in order to say, can you review what the Supreme Court has done? Nobody can do that anymore. Supreme Court has made the final pronouncement in its original jurisdiction, and there is no other appellate court except God that can now look at this matter. So whether they are wrong or whether they are right, for now, nobody can say they are wrong. Nobody can say they are right, because nobody can ever review this particular decision. The only thing you have to do is to comply. That's why I'm also not too happy with Nigerians who are rejecting the old currency.
Yes.
Because I don't require the president to tell me to obey the Supreme Court decision. I don't require the central bank governor to tell me. It's a medium of exchange. If I give to you, you also give to somebody else. So if among Nigerians who agree that the old currency is still valid and begin to use it as a means of exchange, then there won't be any problem. I see no reason why somebody should be expecting the president to make a pronouncement when a court of law has made a pronouncement. I don't understand. So Nigerians also are as guilty as the federal government. They are also as guilty as the central bank governor, because it's a medium of exchange. You and I can agree to start spending the money and be using the money as a means of exchange. So why are we waiting for pronouncement before we accept old currency? So that is, again, is another issue. It's another topic for another day. So to answer your question, Supreme Court, whether they are right now or they are wrong, it is the final court. They have exercised this power as the original jurisdiction, and they have also exercised it as the final court. So nobody has any right to go anywhere except approach God. But I don't know when God will actually assume jurisdiction to decide this matter. But Supreme Court has the final say.
And I'll stick this last question in, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I want it in just a minute. Barrister Bani, where do we go from here? So as you said earlier, some states are trying to give the federal government this week and maybe into the weekend to make a difference in this, to change course or change direction. Yeah. Others are saying go ahead with the contempt proceedings, because this is the Supreme Court that has spoken. Millions of Nigerians are suffering. In 30 seconds, where do we go from here?
I just want Nigerians to begin to obey the Supreme Court judgment themselves. The money is just a means of exchange. If I give you, accept. Give to another person should accept. If among Nigerians we begin to accept the old currency, which is still valid on the 31st of December, then we don't need any pronouncement from the presidency. We don't need any pronouncement from Emefiele in order for this old currency to be a valid note, because already the Supreme Court says it's valid until 31st of December. So my advice is Nigerians, begin to accept the old currency as a valid money until 31st of December. Don't refuse it. The moment you refuse it, you are creating hardship amongst all of us. And all of us are the ones suffering it. So I don't need the Supreme Court, I don't need the Emefiele to tell me to accept it. I don't need the presidency to tell me to accept it. I should accept it because the Supreme Court has said so. Let's begin to use it as a means of exchange and begin to trade and reduce the level of hardship in the country. That's my advice. That's the way out. That's the way out. If the presidency refuses to intervene, that's the way out. All
right, Barrister Monday Bani, we'll leave it at that. It is still right now a threat to initiate those contempt proceedings against the AGF and the CBN governor. But as we know, a day, an hour in politics is a very long time, and there could be a few things that develop in the coming days. We look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.